Max velocity, a lot of times, when Peter Wayne's stuff came out, he talked about, vertical force into the ground. I don't think that's true. Either does Ken Clark, who did the research, and I think Peter would agree the same, that there's a shortcoming to it. So where it's really happening is how that foot comes into the ground, called tangential velocity. Can I put my foot in a position here where I'm going to bring it down and in? If I just stomp down, I'm creating this up and down movement. That foot has to hit slightly out in front, and it pulls you through, which is a ton of hamstring, which I'll show you my hamstring drills here in a second. I don't need to go over this, right? Everyone knows Ken's work and all that. He's got a good 30-minute video on YouTube. Again, he's so humble, he doesn't push his stuff very well. He usually speaks at TFCs. More of his stuff. So really, this is what the question you have to ask developing speed in any sport. Can you create enough space to accelerate your foot through the ground? That's what it comes down to. I don't care if it's football, accelerating football. So at one point, you have to create height so that allows that to happen. There has to be an element that does give you lift, and I do not think it is when you stomp down on the ground and push up. It's going to be what your ankle does when most of your mass is passed. I'm going to show you it here in a second. The quad is what gives you your horizontal force. I know that's blasphemy to say that the quad does anything in a sprint. It should be all hamstring, but it does. I'm going to show you the video here in a sec. Oh, here it is. Not in a second, right now. So again, Japanese went nuts.
Dieses computergenerierte Bild zeigt Pauls Muskeln, wie sie bei einem Lauf unter normalen Bedingungen arbeiten.
So this is what fires when it's working. So hamstring in the air, lateral hamstring to pull through. It rolls through, soleus fires, and there is the vastus lateralis doing its thing. What's the belly button flash in red for? Transverse abdominis, which is something that I added to my RPR warm-up. So coming at us, it hits. There's the quad that's going to stabilize and fire, start the firing through that drops down into the calf to shoot him forward and up. So when your leg is on the ground, that vastus lateralis and glute med is in control of the leg, and your, what's the red one on his side? His obliques are in charge of the leg that's in the air. They can't do psoas because it's too deep to measure. You can't stick something in that deep. That would hurt. And if you miss, you might hit something that's vital. But he hits, there's soleus absorbing, and then gastrocs are what fires forward. There's the gastroc knocking forward. Here's what it looks like in a sprint. This is from the research paper that Ken Clark and I wrote with Mihal. That was the three of us on overspeed training. If I had time, I'd tell you a really funny story. Do you want to hear the funny story? So, Ken and Mihal show up, and this is at Hinsdale Central where I teach, and those are my speed lights there, and we set up this really elaborate system where we're going to measure with 3 high-speed cameras. We have more stuff there than you could possibly shake a stick at. And so we're about ready to go, and we got lots of people coming in. And the 1080 is way down here at the other end of the field house, and that's what's going to pull people through when we do this. And Ken goes, "Can I try the 1080? I said, yeah, sure. Why don't you go down there? I'll hook you up. Go down there, and I'll set it, and you can run and pull. So he puts the belt on. I should have known it wasn't fitting that great. It's set to pull back at 14 meters a second, which is clip, and that's about 30 miles an hour. And there's a cable, and then there's like a connector to it. And so, again, we spent 3 hours setting up the gym, and he's down there, and he's about ready to go, and all of a sudden I hear the Velcro go, shh, and there went the belt. and you see this sucker zigzagging down like a mad snake, hitting everything in its path that could possibly be important. It like had an eye for everything. It's knocking over laser beams. It's knocking stuff over like, oh my God. And all Ken could say is, I guess I've gained a little too much weight and the belt really didn't fit. I'm like, oh my God. But all the speed light work, we set it back up. You can see one of the things is dented. I'll still work like a charm. So anyway, this is from that research where we had some really fast people show up. This kid was a Big Ten champion. He's a 10-2 guy. But we'll see what that looks like when he comes by. He hits, just like the Safa Powell thing. And so here's where his lift comes, right there. And so what I look at now is when this foot is coming off the ground, can your toe come over the top? Because if we're going to watch his right heel move forward, that's what's actually creating his lift to come up. How do we know that? I'm going to look at that line that's in the cinder block and watch his hips raise up when he comes off the ground. If you were creating height from this push right here, you would see him raise, but you'll see him raise right there at the end. That's that heel flick that's moving him forward. Most people don't move that heel forward when they sprint. Their foot floats up from right there and they lose that lift. I could show you 1,000 videos of that happening. And yes, this is what I do on my spare time. I look at this shit. He'll hit. Same type of thing. He loads. And watch his heel move forward at toe off. That's creating his lift. Watch how the stripe comes up a little bit. And so now he's in a position here where that foot can strike just like in the video, down and through. The faster that speed comes down, the more it loads the Achilles complex and creates a bigger spring. So if you have no spring coming through, you never load that complex and you're not going to get any height. That means when he's at this position, ooh, this one's a really good stride. Look at him really pull out here and scissor down and through. He's cooking. It'll show his time here. Here's Tony's kid, Marcellus Moore, who ran whatever, 6 whatever the other day. Same thing. See how his foot is on the ground all the way till toe off, and his foot gets vertical to the ground. It doesn't float up. You can actually see the lift coming right there. Different style than the other guy. But those are the universals between the two things. You know, it's what his foot and ankle are doing. Fast kid. We call these Yuris. Again, Cal named it because he wanted to give credit to whatever Russian guy, I forgot his name, Vershansky. Yeah. Because he talked about doing this. So I added a step, so you're going to drop down and you're going to get in that position where you're going to snap that foot down into the ground. Now, slam that foot in the ground. There you go. Again. Oops. Now, slam that foot in the ground. If you come off your foot the wrong way, are you going to go somewhere else in that rubber band? You are. There is your cue that you have failed. You have instantaneous feedback that you did the drill wrong, and that's really the purpose of drills, is for you to fail so you learn to find the right way. Now you can change the distance away from the band to work at different things. You can go on Cal's YouTube video if you can find it, because he's got so many things out there and so poorly organized. But it's out there where he's changing the positions to work on different aspects of that touchdown and that push through. This is Darnell Mooney. Do you guys know him? Good player, right? Got hurt last year really fast, was really fast. Got rolled up on this year. So watch this. Watch this happen when he goes. Watch how fast his first steps are. His form isn't great, but he has those attributes of, can I slam that leg into the ground and catapult my body up into the air when he goes. So see him way down there in the blue hoodie? He always wore hoodies for some reason when he worked out. That's my street. See how nice and flat it is? I can put cameras anywhere in my neighbor's yard because they're all in their 90s and they have no idea what's going on. So it's basically like my front yard too. It's going to suck when new people move in. I mean, he's a combine 4.3 guy. But again, you're going to be able to see the bottom of his shoes coming at you because he is getting himself in a position where that foot is in the air, and how fast can he swing that leg down and through. There's the Ken Clark 105 split, mid-flight, hits out in front, and he pulls himself through. He runs, that summer he was running 10.4 meters a second, and his 30-meter time was 3.98. 3.81 will get you into the finals at the World Championships in a 60. And he's small. He probably weighs 165 pounds. But there he is in that position to strike through. Other stuff not going great. You know, you can say he's got too much back-end swing and stuff like that, but that's what he does. That's how he runs fast. Goals, what are your goals with your speed program? You know, I think that's what you have to outline, and you'll see that when I talk about in the weight room. What are your goals? What is your specific goal in what you want to get done? Is a 40-yard dash a great indicator for what you do? I think it is. It checks a lot of boxes. If you do that well, you have dealt with a lot of the things that we looked at. Everyone that runs a great 40, their first 3 steps are always really horizontal. And you'll see at the combine, like they fall apart at the end, but they still run 4.4. It's that initial momentum that they got going that it's going to be hard to get rid of, no matter what they do. And I'm going to show you big guys here running in a second. So, should they run a 40? Yeah, they should. They have the worst neural ceilings because they've gotten away in their entire life with just being a big guy and people are afraid of them, so they just do big guy things. They've never been asked to run fast. They've never been asked to do stuff hard because they're just big guys. We have to raise their neural ceilings, and you make them sprint. Does training the test, all those like 5, 10, 5, and all that stuff improve football skills? It does. It does. Why? Because you've put a number on things and you've given kids a target, and kids will always shoot for the target. It will have carryover. All this stuff has carryover. An athlete is an athlete. Like the real name for track and field used to be athletics. If you look at the 1912 Olympics in St. Louis, they didn't call it track and field, it was just Olympics. Has anyone been to WashU and seen where they held the 1912 Olympics and the pictures and all that? So there's a track meet going on, there's a gymnastics meet going on, and people were interchangeable in all the events because Olympics was just athletics. Are you an athlete? We need to go back to that. I like the people who argue about average velocities and you only run 14 miles in a football game and all that. Why do we need top end speed? Well, again, it's the ceiling. Every car can get to 55, right? Eventually. I want the one that gets there 0 to 60 in 2.9. That's the one I want. I may never go faster than 60, but I can get there faster. It's just the velocity, the force velocity curve is that much better if you can get to a better ceiling. It changes the whole line of things. And I have seen NFL guys, got to be careful here, that have went to other places and have trained for that. You only run 18 and 20 miles an hour. I have seen a substantial decrement in their speed when they came back, and it had a huge impact on their season. I haven't told them straight up, you're running a whole lot slower right now than you were a year ago. And what happened that season, it didn't go well. Remember, you make your moves in the NFL is what you do after you get hit or after you catch the ball. That's where you make your money. Measure what's meaningful. I measure drills. We time drills. We do all kinds of things. If it's important, I measure it. So this is an offensive lineman for the Bears. Played at Michigan. Played all over the league. This has got to be his 7th or 8th year in the league. Big dude, 6'5", 310. Here he is sprinting. That looks awfully good for a 300-pounder. You know what he did in high school? He was 6'5" as a freshman. He went out for track. He ran high hurdles his freshman and sophomore year. He was a 15 flat high hurdler his sophomore year in high school. And then he went to a football camp somewhere else, and they told him you need to start gaining weight. And he did. But you can still see there's carryover from his track days. Good athlete.